Hi everyone, I'm Jed Schlackman. I work as a holistic counselor and hypnotherapist and energy healer. In today's video, I'm speaking about the topic of what I call self-rejection or distorted self-image, and how different things in our life reflect that. Things like using makeup and facades and putting on kind of a false self-image in a sense to avoid what we're feeling about our true self-image. So this is a subject that can lead in many different directions or tangents. So I'll try to keep it somewhat focused and organized. But I want us to each begin by thinking about how, as we've grown up in our culture or society, we've been in some way conditioned or programmed to not feel okay with ourselves, in particular with our physical appearance, with our physical body, and how we're continually trying to compensate for that lack of self-love or self-acceptance, as we've in some way rejected some aspect of ourselves. We're constantly trying to find some means of compensating for that, to do something that we think will restore our sense of self, something we're doing usually external to kind of compensate for or cover up that feeling of insecurity we have, that feeling either of being rejected by others and or being rejected by ourselves, feeling there's something flawed or defective, something wrong about our own being, whether it's physically with our body or psychologically with our personality or identity in some way. One way that this is brought up is through how our parents are acting. They're usually in some way functioning as role models. And if you're a child and you see your parents functioning in an insecure way, let's say you're a child observing your mother, and your mother is always insecure about her physical appearance, thinking she weighs too much, thinking her face needs more makeup, things like that. Then as a child, you can start to question your own appearance, how you look, how others are going to perceive you, always feeling that you're not adequate, you're not enough, you're in some way less attractive or less desirable than other people around you. And many people go through their whole lives with that subconscious belief system or thought pattern there, continually acting based upon that belief. So if you find that you're very insecure if you're not wearing fancy clothing or makeup or doing extra things to try to augment your appearance, it could be something that really stems from childhood or adolescence, sometime in your life where you received messages from your environment suggesting to you or telling you that your appearance wasn't okay, that somehow you needed to do more to try to make yourself appear attractive or appear adequate. This leads to many body image issues for people, and it leads to some really extreme behavior patterns. There are people who feel extremely anxious or insecure if they forget to put on makeup, if they don't complete their daily personal hygiene routine, if they're not wearing perfume or cologne, So there's so many things people are doing out of that feeling that they need to do something extra to appear attractive and desirable, to be appreciated or validated in culture and their society. This is something people spend a lot of time on, a lot of money on, and one ironic aspect of it is that many of the things people are doing to try to, on the surface, enhance their appearance, different forms of makeup, hair dye, using chemical fragrances, all those things can actually contain harmful substances, things that are toxic to our bodies, that actually accelerate the aging process, that will create the very problem that people fear, that their body will look unattractive, that they'll lose their youthfulness, etc. So if you are using things to augment or enhance your appearance or how attractive you think you are, be mindful of what you're actually using and whether it's actually something healthy or harmless, or something that's actually harmful to your body, something that over time is going to foster some negative impact. This is something that we can consider in addition to the psychological and spiritual issues that I'm bringing up here, even just the direct physical impact of how we're acting upon those insecurities and anxieties about ourself, our appearance, our self-image, and so on. Considering the psychological aspect, we are all unique, so there's billions of people on the planet. We don't all look the same, we don't all have the same physical features or body shape, we don't all carry the same genetics, racial characteristics, etc. So we could kind of drive ourselves crazy in a sense, trying to compare ourselves to everyone around us and to meet some kind of arbitrary or subjective standard of how we should look, of what's normal or desirable. So if we could learn to just accept our own uniqueness, our own individuality, and be content with just doing what we feel or have learned is healthy for us, things that are going to help us be balanced in our body, help our body maintain its youthfulness as much as reasonably can be expected. So eating pretty healthy, exercising, getting sufficient sleep and rest, all of the basic things that help nourish and nurture our body, as well as having more self-love and a more easygoing mindset where we're not putting a lot of pressure or stress on ourselves. We're not going through our day anxious, insecure, where we can just kind of flow with things. We can accept ourselves, we can accept and trust life. All of that will actually have an impact on our physical body, our physical appearance, our youthfulness, etc. So if you are concerned about maintaining a healthy looking exterior, then it's actually valuable and important to start on your interior, on your consciousness, on your mind and your emotional patterns. Those will have a major impact on your physical appearance. We can also realize that fundamentally we're all spiritual beings. So we exist as spiritual energy, as consciousness without form, prior to taking on a physical body and after letting go of that physical body. So who we really truly are on a deeper level is not limited to this physical vessel, to its appearance. So there's value to who we are that transcends and goes beyond just your physical characteristics. Who you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the role you're playing in your life experience, how you're treating yourself and other people, all of that contributes to your identity, to your sense of self. And let's put this in an even broader spiritual context. Every human being has a consciousness that's part of the infinite being, the supreme being, what people might call the creator or God, the ultimate source of existence. So at the deepest level, we are all that source, that creative essence. So from that perspective, it would seem kind of silly and not very wise or enlightened to be criticizing yourself here as a human being about your physical appearance, even about what you've accomplished in your life, your personality, etc. You don't want to be beating yourself up over those things. All of it is really very impermanent, very temporary, just an experience, just an expression of your creative potential. We're all continuing to grow, to evolve, to expand into new roles, new identities, etc. So you could tell yourself to kind of lighten up, to not be so worried or afraid about how you appear, about how other people are perceiving you, to not be upset so much about your past, things that have already happened, and not be so anxious about the future, which hasn't even happened yet. To just appreciate yourself and your life in the here and now, to carry that feeling of levity, of openness, of ease. That's more of an ideal state to maintain yourself in. We're of course going to have stresses and challenges and things that we encounter in our human path that will be unpleasant, that will bring us into a kind of more dense emotional state. But we can lift ourselves out of those states and reconnect more with our essence, our creative spark, our curiosity for experience. So this is a mindset that we can start to develop and master more. We don't have to be stuck in that anxiety. We don't have to hold on to a negative self-image, since our self-image is really just subjective. It's a story we're telling ourselves. We're believing that story, and we're worrying about that story when it's not something that's objective or absolute. It's just our own mental reality that we've become stuck in or attached to. So we all have the power to let that go, to not be so uptight in a sense about ourselves, not so anxious about how we look, about how we are perceived by others. So you could test things out and see where you're at on that path or journey by not acting on the impulses or patterns you might have had in the past. So you could try just for a day or a week, not putting so much energy and effort and attention into putting on a facade, whether that's a physical facade of makeup and hair dye and fancy clothing and all that, or a psychological facade where you present yourself to be a certain personality or characteristic to people around you to make you appear pleasing to them rather than being completely open and authentic and genuine in how you carry yourself. So we've put a lot of effort into putting on those facades, into making ourselves up to appear a certain way, to act a certain way, and that kind of drains our energy. We have to use a lot of our energy to maintain that facade, and that leaves us less energy to fully embrace and express who we are in our life. So if we could be more free to be authentic, we'd actually be radiating more of our life energy. We wouldn't be putting attention and energy into trying to appear a certain way to please people, to compensate for our own insecurities. We'd be able to just kind of go with the flow, to have the energy of life inspiring us, helping us create or manifest more of what's possible for us. I hope that this discussion here has given you some things to contemplate, some things to reflect on for yourself, and that you can have compassion for yourself and others as we go through our human life journey, as we face these insecurities, as we kind of undo the programming or conditioning that we've collected throughout our lives based upon our environment, our culture, our society, and how we've adapted to that or reacted to that. For those who are interested in holistic health and personal growth, I invite you to view other videos I've done on these topics. For additional healing resources, you can visit my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. And for now, I wish each of you a wonderful day. Namaste.